What's going on, everybody? Paul Hickey here with NoOffSeason.com. I have a special guest today in this special edition episode of the Sports Card Strategy Show. The host of Sports Cards Live, the one and only Jeremy Lee, is in the house. What's up, Jeremy? How you doing, man?
What's going on, Paul? How are you? Sorry I'm running a minute late. Hope everything's all right.
No worries, brother. Good to see you. You and I met at the Mint Collective about a month ago, and we wanted to start creating some content together. So I selfishly hope this is the first of many shows that we can do together, whether it's on my show or your show. And it's good to have you on, man. So real quick, just wanted to give the audience a quick rundown of why we're doing this. Like I said, Jeremy and I met at the Mint Collective. I thought he did a great job emceeing, hosting, if you will, some of the panels and the events there. And then I ran into him at the tag grading booth, which was a phenomenal display, great setup, great branding, really drew people into the booth. And Jeremy and I had a great conversation about creating content for the hobby, why we both do it. Jeremy, let's break this episode up into a couple different sections. First, I wanted to ask you kind of about your show, Sports Cards Live, and your business endeavor creating content in the hobby. A little bit, whatever you want to share with us around sort of where you are now, how you got to where you are, because I think that's actually pretty compelling. And I think that there's a lot of people in the hobby that want to create content around it because they love it so much, but maybe they don't know exactly how to do it, exactly how to get started. So let's start with kind of some insights there. Then in the second part of the show, I want to get into like what you're into from a collector standpoint, from an investor standpoint, if you do any flipping. My guess is that hockey is big for you, but we'll let you get into that a little bit later. All right, cool. So after my long intro here, tell us about Sports Cards Live. You just had your 3-year anniversary show. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the story goes we're back in 2020, early 2020, and I guess, the pandemic was just starting to become something that people were realizing was going to impact society, especially when the NBA canceled their season. And then there was speculation that the National Sports Collectors Convention would be canceled. And a guy on Instagram started he called a virtual card show on Instagram. And his name is 610 Sports Cards. Justin, because he's actually 6'10". So I did that. I kind of let him know. I said, okay, I'll come on Sunday and I'll go live at 2:00 and I'll show my cards and see what happens. So I did that. And that was like my first ever experience going live. And I made a few deals. And then I realized, well, I got a bunch of vintage hockey that I'd like to sell. So I reached out to a vintage hockey Facebook group administrator. I said, hey, is it okay if I just broadcast live to the group and sell some vintage cards? And the admin said, that's okay, but you can only show cards up to 1989. I said, no problem. A couple days later, I go live. I got stacks of graded cards here on my desk. And I'm just kind of showing one at a time, showing cards like $200, $300, this blah, 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 saying a bit about the card. Sold a whole bunch of cards and had a lot of fun just talking to the people in the chat. And after that, I got a bunch of messages being like, hey, you should do that again. It was a lot of fun. This was Whatnot before Whatnot was a thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, if only I clued in that much and had the wherewithal to launch something there. But in any event, I then wanted to sell some modern hockey cards. Well, there's like 1 million modern hockey Facebook groups. So I didn't know how to pick the best one. So I thought, well, why don't I just start a new Facebook group where people just go and show Whatnot, but on Facebook? Why don't you just show your cards live? So I went to Facebook and I was able to lock down the name Sports Cards Live for a group. So I created that. And then my brain started going. I thought, well, I wonder if YouTube has it available. I went to YouTube. It was available. So I snagged it. So now I've got this Facebook group. I got the YouTube channel ready to go. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet exactly, but I thought maybe this would be for live streaming sales. And then I went to Fiverr.com. I got a logo made up, based it off of a neon sign. So, there's the Sports Cards Live logo, kind of looks like a neon sign. And And then I said, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go live. And I was nervous as heck, Paul. Like I didn't know what to expect. I had butterflies in my stomach leading up to the first time, which was going to be Saturday, April the 18th of 2020. And I had lined up my first a guest. So I didn't really know what to expect, but I reached out to my friend Carvin Chung, who I've known for over 15 years. He's the guy that invented Exquisite and the cup. So he's a legend in the hobby. But we've been buddies for a long time. So I said, hey, Carv, I'm going to go live on Saturday on YouTube. You want to come on? I'll just interview you. I'd never interviewed anyone before. He's like, yeah, sure. Why not? Okay, great. So the Thursday before that, I'm like, I better just go live and just get a feel for it. So I went live by myself, episode 1 of Sports Cards Live, April 16th, 2020. 2 days later, I have Carvin on. And he can talk about basketball, and I collect all sports, not just hockey. I'm best known for hockey, but I have a great baseball, football, basketball collection as well. So I wanted to appeal to more than just hockey. I wanted to appeal to the basketball crowd as well. I have a lot of friends in the basketball collecting world. So Carvin came on. We had a chat. I've never gone back to watch it. I hope it's good. But then after that episode, and I got the butterflies out of me, I thought, well, I guess I got to find a guest for next time. And then next time, and that's how Sports Cards Live turned into what it is now, really organically that way. And here we are 3 years later, and I've done now I think it's 380 live streams on my channel. I have various different like branded shows, but if you add them all up, I'm at 380 shows. In 3 years, my flagship show, Sports Cards Live, Saturday nights at 10 o'clock Eastern. I just, on this past Saturday, did episode 182 of that. They're 2 hours long on average. They're live and interactive with the crowd. I bring in all the comments, and I really try to get my guest to open up to the audience so that the audience can get to know the guest, whether they are an industry insider, a passionate collector, or a fellow content creator. And then I think that if you get to know somebody, you might be more apt to do business with them or trade with them or whatever. So I try to get the audience to get to know my guests, and I try to deliver it I try to educate, inspire, entertain, and do it with passion and authenticity. That's my spiel, Paul.
You're doing a great job, man. And I think you and I, I feel like we have a lot in common in terms of like why we got into it and how we do it. And, I'd like to say hello to Ziggy No. He says, good day, gentlemen. Thanks for the content and insights. One of my favorite things to do, Jeremy, like you said, is to bring in the comments. Kendall and I on our flagship show every Monday morning, we struggle to keep it to like an hour and 20 minutes. So I can totally relate to the 2 hour live show. What's your favorite one of your branded shows to do? Like, is it your flagship show, or do you have another one that's kind of a favorite of yours?
So Sports Cards Live is the flagship. And then, so I 2 hours would be up. I didn't ever want to go over 2 hours, but then we started getting into hour 3, and then the chat would be like, go another hour. I'm like, I can't do a 3 hour episode. No one's going to click on it afterwards. So then I thought, well, we'll do another show right after, call it After Hours. And I'll do that one. And I like that one. I mean, I don't want to say I like it more. I like it all, but I like it because I allow myself to sit back, relax, and not make it as much of an interview show, more of a discussion. And I just don't I don't say I don't care as much, but I don't put as much pressure on myself. I just kind of sit back, relax, and have a conversation. So that's just called basically, Sports Cards Live After Hours. I've started doing what I'm dubbing as Hobby Hangout when I do a show on a Friday night, bring on a larger panel. Usually it's themed after a card show recap. We just did one for the Sport Card Expo in Toronto. Did that last Friday. So I've only done 9 or 10 of those. I was doing Collectible, the fractional company. I worked with them for almost 2 years. This was a cool story, Paul. So I was doing Sports Cards Live, and after about a year and a half of doing it, I got a message from somebody from Collectible who says, we like what you're doing. We'd like you to do something similar, but do it for us. And I kind of thought like, that's really cool. It's almost as if I'd been auditioning without knowing I was auditioning for the past year and a half, and somebody's recognized it, likes what I'm doing, and wants to pay me to do a show for them. So I worked with Collectible we did 66 episodes. Collectible, I don't know exactly what's going on there right now, but I know that the people that I was working with are no longer there. So that contract ended at the end of March, and I'm no longer doing, it was called Collectible Live. I'm no longer doing that. And then I work also with PWCC, and that's interesting because, you know, a lot of people don't know how it started for me with PWCC. Even though I'm sure there's going to be more and more talk about PWCC and the various content creators that work with them, including myself, especially after some news that came out last week, and it's on the radar of many other content creators now. So, but what happened there, Paul, was that one day in, I think it was February of 2021, I was getting ready to come down here to open up eBay and watch the PWCC hockey auctions because I was going to bid on some, and there were several I was just interested in. As I'm walking down my stairs into my basement, I think to myself, wait a second, I'm going to sit here by myself, like, you know, just alone. Why don't I just stream myself watching the auctions, share my screen?
Yep.
So like literally 5 minutes before I went live, I had the idea, decided to go live, stream myself watching the auctions, and it was a very well-received episode. All right, well, I guess we're going to do it next month when PWC, because back then they used to do hockey on whatever, say one Thursday a month on eBay. So the next month I did it again. Very popular episode, very organically started. After doing this for a few months, I went to the National, July 2021. And the people at PWCC knew about me by then from doing these episodes because, you know, I was promoting my content on Instagram and elsewhere. So I was at the PWCC booth chatting, and, you know, one thing led to another. It's like, well, maybe we should formalize this. And of course, you know, I'm an enterprising young man, not
Absolutely.
so young, but it's like, well, maybe I can monetize this. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? So we basically eventually came up with a deal, and I started covering their premier auction because I think the National happened, and then like a couple weeks later, they were kicked off of eBay.
Yeah,
So
I remember that.
Right. So
Yep.
I went from covering the eBay auctions to their auctions on their own platform, and been doing that ever since. So I do the premier auction. I now cover their weekly hockey auctions on Sunday nights. Did one last night. I partnered up with one of the hosts of Hockey Cards Gong Show, Josh Madigan. He's got a great podcast, great guy. Him and Troy, his partner, awesome dudes. So I've been doing the PWCC now for 2 years, over 2 years. I've been covering their auctions, and, you know, I love doing it. It's so much fun talking because we're talking about cards. And I love cards. So that's cool. And, you know, even when I'm covering their auctions, it's not like I'm sitting there trying to sell all the cards for them. I will beat the poop out of a card if I don't like the card. I will say out loud. And I did it last night. I'm like, okay, it's a PSA 9 Mario Lemieux O-Pee-Chee rookie, but this one would not make it into my collection, you know, like if you want a below average 9, this is the one for you. Like, I don't sit there and pump all their cards. I remain as authentic as I can be. And I try to remain 100% authentic. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't ever maybe hold something back along the way, but, you know, and that's not going to be about the cards. It's going to be about other stuff. Like, it's not my business what's going on with their employees.
Yeah.
You know, if that's got nothing to do with me. That's what's going on there. And, but that said, you know, I'm still aware of how things come across and are perceived. And I try to, at the end of the day, Paul, for me, as long as I can sleep at night and feel good about myself and what I'm doing, I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. And, so yeah, those are, I think I've got a list of the different shows I do because I can't even keep track of them all myself all the time. But I believe that's, Hobby Hangout, Collectible Live is over now after hours. Sports Cards Live and the PWCC stuff. I used to be a part of Hobby Hotline as well, which is a group of content creators on Saturday mornings. So I did several of those, probably did about 15 or 20 of those episodes as well.
Love the collaborations. Those are great. Whether it's with other hobby content creators or brands. I personally love a lot of the stuff that PWCC does. So I think it's phenomenal that you're able to cover their auctions. That's great. I think it's a great business move for them and for you. You're getting a lot of love in the comments here. So Ziggy No says Jeremy had must-see hobby education every Saturday night in 2020, and his access was amazing. My favorite was when he had Panini on to tell about upcoming products no one else heard about. So props to you for that. And then Ziggy also adding Sports Cards Live was the best of 2020 in the hobby. Still loves the show. He just personally isn't as engaged currently, but a lot of love for you in the comments. And I got a lot of respect for you and what you're doing and what you've done.
Thank you. Thank you, Ziggy, for the comments.
Yeah. Ziggy, I know, creates his own content as well. And would love to have Ziggy on to collab sometime as well. So I love, you're a pioneer, Jeremy. You're looking for new opportunities. You bring value to the audience. I think that when you and I talked at Mint Collective, it was clear to me that you love doing what you're doing and you appreciate the art form, the craft, the grind, and you're bringing value to the audience. And that seems to be what you love most. And that's why you're so good at what you're doing. So I want to segue real quick into your role at TAG, if you don't mind. I just think mainly because the audience our audience in particular here at the Sports Card Strategy Show has been super positive and interested in this grading company, TAG, that you're involved in. I'm just going to throw it over to you again and just let you kind of tell the audience whatever you want to share about what you're doing with TAG, what your role is, and what attracted you to get involved with this company in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for a story?
We're ready. Let's hear it.
All right. So let's go back to the National 2021 in Chicago. The company that I was employed by for the 5 years leading up, we had just sold our company to a NASDAQ listed entity. And the culture at our company, I could tell, was about to change drastically. Not a hobby company, completely a different industry. I'm a CPA, and I've been there I was senior executive, and we were purchased, and I could feel that it was going to change, that the culture was going to be much different. So I went to the National that year for a couple of reasons. One, to wrangle guests for my show. Two, to be at the National and, see people and buy some cards for myself. And also to be open to any opportunities. That's where I met I think that's where I originally was approached by Collectible. It's where I talked to PWCC about a deal. And so what I did, Paul, was I have a really good friend who had a booth in the corporate area, and he let me carve out the edge of his booth to have like a bar table and a couple of stools, which I rented from the show. Cost me like $500 to have one table and two chairs for the 5 days. And I had a couple of roll-up banners with my logo, my face on them, my floating head face, and some other graphics. And I was there just to, I guess, promote the show, get guests, but be open to opportunity, because I could tell that my job was maybe not going to be around forever. So I'm at my booth, I'm at my table one day. I'm chatting with a bunch of people, and I can see this group of men kind of standing off to the side, almost waiting for me to free up. So once I freed up, I looked over, and they walked over to me, and they said, we'd like to show you something. All right, great. They whip out their iPad and they show me a presentation, and it's their presentation for their AI automated grading. And if Ziggy's still watching, he'll remember about, I don't know how many months before this, maybe maybe it was 6 months, 12 months. I'm not sure. I had done an episode with an individual who had commissioned a study at a university about whether or not computerized grading was possible. And at the end of that episode, I think we concluded not possible. It would take millions of dollars and several years to do it. So here we go. Little do I know during that episode that this is actually being invested in and developed in, unbeknownst to most people. So they show it to me. I'm blown away. I'm like, this is amazing. This is what the hobby needs: consistent, reproducible, accurate grading, because the human grading companies, they're unable, they're limited by their humanness to be able to grade consistently. So I saw it. I was like, this is amazing. Thank you for showing me. Let me know if I can help you out. That was July 2021. The next 6-7 months go by. I think we sent the odd email just to keep in touch. February 2022 comes around. They reach out to me, TAG Grading. They say, hey, we are almost ready to reveal ourselves to the hobby. We would like to do it on your podcast. And I'm thinking to myself, awesome. I love what you guys are doing. I'm glad they want to do it with me, but I need to see what you guys are doing. You showed me a presentation on an iPad almost a year ago. Before I'm going to host this and inevitably give you my endorsement by having you on my show, I need to see more. So I flew down to LA the beginning of March 2022, and I went to their facility. I spent a couple days there, met the whole team, met the AI automated grading development team, saw the facility and realized, well, these guys are for real. This isn't no basement grading company. They had a full facility. They had it all set up and ready to go. These guys aren't messing around. And I left there feeling like, wow, this is awesome. Like these guys are going to disrupt the hobby like Netflix did Blockbuster sort of thing. Uber did taxi company. So I agreed to do a series of podcasts with them. That was like, early March, mid-March that we decided to do it. And then we started planning. I started working with these guys to plan these episodes. And in that process, I got to know them pretty well. I got to know more about the business. We did 5, and I take my episodes very seriously. I plan for them. I want to make sure that they're going to be quality content. So we ended up doing the 5 episodes, and we did the first 4 were like 4 consecutive Saturdays. And then I think we took off 2 or 3 weeks and did the final episode. I think we did the last one. It was June or early July of 2022. Great. We're done. That was a lot of fun. Glad to be a part of it. July 15th of 2022 now. It's 1 year since my company sold, and my role is now finally winding up. I lasted a year there. My last day was July the 15th of 2022. They moved my whole department's work up to another city. So I'm basically out of work. And I'm like, all right, well, let's go back to the National and see what happens there. And go to the Atlantic City National. And I'm feeling, I'm feeling kind of free because while my job ended, I got packaged out. So I didn't really need to worry about an income for a few months. But then I started thinking, you know what, maybe I should talk to TAG about something more permanent. So kind of initiated those discussions. And it took us until the very end of August to actually make a deal where I was going to join TAG Grading in an official capacity. And we announced it the Thursday night of the Burbank show, whatever that was, August 29th or 30th of last year. And my role, as announced, was VP of Business Development International. And now TAG's launching in phases. Phase 1 was the Burbank show kind of reveal. Here's our technology. Here's a bunch of our team. We had a really nice booth there. It was awesome. And then what happened next? So that we were calling that the early adopter phase. We had we were accepting submissions through our website. You could order a package. We send you supplies. You send the cards back. We grade them for you. But we weren't marketing because we didn't want to be overwhelmed with submissions. Not that we would have been, but hopefully we would be. And we didn't want to be overwhelmed because we wanted to test our system with actual customer cards. So we did that from September through December. January comes, we're now moving into phase 2 of our launch. We're calling this the drop phase, where we're only offering our grading packages through drops, which, by the way, this is the first time anyone's heard this outside of TAGs. I was just informed this morning. We're doing our next drop on Wednesday, grading drop on Wednesday. I think that'll be our 3rd drop.
We're all Sports Card Strategy Show. Breaking news from Sports Cards Live here. Thank you, Jeremy. So that'll be Wednesday. Is that May 10th? Correct?
No.
This Wednesday, May 3rd.
Like 2 days from now.
This Wednesday, May 3rd. All right, 48 hours from now, next drop on TAG.
That is my understanding. That's what I was told this morning from one of the guys so TAG is based in Los Angeles. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So I don't work in the office. I'm not involved in the day-to-day operation. A lot of people in the hobby, they'll send me DMs, they'll ask me questions, assuming, and I'm not saying it's bad, assuming that I know everything going on at TAG. I just don't. I'm not in there. I'm not in there every day. I'm not communicating with them every day, but we have weekly catch-ups and that kind of thing. So because my role as business development hasn't really kicked in yet, we're still not at a point, we're not in phase 3 of our launch where we're ready to open the floodgates and set up LCSs as drop-offs and all that sort of thing. once we're there, my role is going to get a lot busier. Right now, I'm more of an ambassador for the brand, I guess you could say.
Yep.
But I'm also developing leads and, working on plans as to how we're going to build the business out down the road. So we're in phase 2 still. Phase 3 is going to start once we increase our throughput in terms, it all comes down to QA. Our grading system is good. It's done. It can identify all the defects on a card. It can assign the grade. It knows exactly what it's doing. But we spend so much time on quality assurance, and we want to speed that up. So once we have this last bit of tech installed, we are going to increase our throughput by like something X. I don't want to say what, because I don't know for sure, but it's going to be drastic. It's going to be drastic. And then eventually we're going to have remote grading pods and the tag ATM and all these different things where we'll basically have infinite capacity, not infinite, but like major capacity. I don't know if we'll be 1 million cards a month like PSA is, but right now we're a drop in the bucket, right? Because we don't want to mess up. We're trying to do everything. As I say to a lot of people, without swearing, tag is not effing around. Like we are doing, everything is so planned and calculated, and we're just trying to do it right. We don't want to, we've seen grading companies get, 10 million card backlogs or just not be able to honor their obligations. And we want to be able to meet every obligation that we ever make. So we will be entering, I believe, phase 3, hopefully this summer. I mean, I don't know when. It's just, that's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not sure. I mean, I asked the question, but it's technology. So yes, we've got the tech is ready. The equipment's going to be installed, and then it's a matter of testing it. That might impact other parts of the process. We have to troubleshoot all that. So I don't know when that's going to be. I'm hoping that by September 1 or the beginning of Q4 here, we're ready for me to get to work and really open the floodgates. But for now, we're really controlling our intake. And I mean, listen, I've got an extensive collection of PSA and Beckett graded cards, like extensive, quite valuable if I believe. All that said, to me, tag grading is the future of grading. I wouldn't have, not only did I join the company, I invested. I took a chunk of money and invested in the equity of the company because, number one, I believe in it. And number two, I think that if you're going to be a part of something like this, you need to have some skin in the game. So I put skin in the game. I'm proud to say it. And I hope that investment, something X's for me over time too, right? But in the meantime, I want to be a part of the team that's going to help to disrupt the grading industry and provide consistency. There's no consistent grading out there. Consistent, reproducible. So every time you send us your card, we don't want your resubs, but if you wanted to send a card and over again, you're gonna get the same grade every time. We grade on a 1,000 point scale. So there will be a bit of fluctuation, but it might be like 4 1,000s
points,
either way. Whereas with human grading companies, you can get a 6 one day and a 9 the next day. That's 300 1,000s. We'll be within 4, either way. So a range of 8 1,000s.
I can attest to all of this as I was at Mint Collective, and it's kind of funny how marketing and awareness works. Like I had zero awareness of tag grading, and I'm okay admitting that because I've been heads down focused on my content. And as part of that, when you do that, you can't keep up with everything. But going to Mint Collective, and being exposed to more of what's out there, I can attest to everything you just said from my first touch point with tag grading, where it's I walk up to the booth and I'm just like, holy shit, like this branding is amazing. And then secondly, after I get drawn in by the branding, I'm willing to spend time there and figure out what's the value proposition. And the value proposition, quite frankly, is a multitude of things to me. It's not only the AI grading and the 1,000 point scale, but it's the in-depth overview of the profile of why your card got the grade that it did. I mean, it's not only in depth, but more importantly, it's easy to understand, it's easy to read, and it's cool to look at. It's a fun experience. And this is all just me having my initial experience with the booth. So I made a mental note. I'm like, I'm going to come back around to the tag booth later and see what's up. Sure enough, you were there, and now I'm like, okay, holy shit again. Now we've got some even more credibility. So props to you. Kudos to Tag for bringing you on, and I can see how this all happened, and I really appreciate you sharing the story. So it'll be interesting to see where things go with Tag, but certainly you've got some supporters here at the Sports Card Strategy Show, and if there's anything I can do to help you guys out, help you in your role, I'm here. And yeah, we're all excited about it, I think. So thanks again for sharing the story. And I have to give props to Oh My Shoes. He is a loyal audience member. He says, I feel you, Jeremy. Anything you make has to be solid. I have the same mindset, referring to what you said about before you're jumping in and endorsing it, you're looking under the hood and just quality checking what's going on there before you put your name on it. So really, really have a lot of respect for you and what you've done. Appreciate you sharing your story, not only for how you've built Sports Cards Live, but your involvement in this new grading company that we're all excited about, Tag. And okay, now let's segue into the stuff that we normally talk about here on the Sports Card Strategy Show. A little bit of how to make money flipping sports cards, but we'll tweak that a little bit for you because we know you're also a collector. So I'll lob you another softball here. What's your collection look like these days? Like, what are you excited about in your collection?
Well, Paul, yeah, I mean, I have a very broad collection. Like I really do. I've been doing this for 42 years, and I've got a lot of the stuff I had as a kid. I collect Hall of Fame rookie cards, all sports. And my want list is very small right now. I've got just about everything that I want. There are some big pieces that I still covet, but I've got a lot of what I want. I collect various there's several sets that I've collected along the way, like just nice patch sets from modern cards. I basically collect 1888 to 2023. My oldest card is this one right here. It's an 1888. It's Atlantic and Pacific, like a card that came with tea or baking soda. So this is my oldest card. I collect. I have everything very organized. Various sets that I collect. I love Upper Decks, the Cup. I collect a lot of cards from there. Auto patches, a lot of modern hockey players. I collect 90s Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal inserts. I collect 90s Cal Ripken Jr. and Ken Griffey Jr. inserts, rare stuff. Several hockey players that I collect have PCs, and I have I think 38 player collections that I track. So people say, who do you collect? Well, grab a coffee and I'll tell you. I collect a lot of them. I collect non-sport. I collect music cards. I like music cards. I like stuff from the 50s and 60s and 70s, like small little cards. A lot of them are hand cut. I love that stuff. I collect historical figures, Hollywood. I just at the expo in Toronto last week, I picked up a Snoop Dogg card and the Nirvana card. Well, the 95 Panini stickers. So yeah, man. I mean, people say I ask a lot of people, what do you collect? And they'll say, oh, whatever catches my eye. I'm now at a point where I had a very sort of strict what I was collecting. They had to fit in these buckets. I've kind of gotten to the end of that journey, I would say. And now I'm like, I collect whatever catches my eye. A lot of people start with what catches your eye and then they refine, they get direction. I'm kind of at the next phase where I'm back now to collecting whatever catches my eye because most of my collections are complete.
That's great, man. So how do you buy most of your cards? Is it at shows, LCSs, eBay, MySlabs? Is there a marketplace that you prefer online? What's your preferred method of picking up cards?
Card shows, number one. Number two, I do pick up singles at LCSs, but that's hit or miss, right? You're limited to what they have on the shelf. So that's definitely not a top, it's not top of my list of where I enjoy buying cards. But like everybody, I would think I buy lots of cards on eBay. I buy cards on PWCC. I've never bought a card on MySlabs. I just haven't, but I'm sure I like the team there. I met them. I know them. Just haven't bought a card there yet. COMC, I've done lots of stuff on COMC over the years. I think I've sold over 10,000 cards there, bought about 1,000. So I've done a lot of business on COMC. I think I started there in 2013. But by far, for me, my favorite is at card shows, buying, selling, and trading.
Yeah, me too. And it took me a while to get there because I lived in Spain for 5 years and just moved back in December of 2022. So I've been frequenting the card shows as much as I possibly can. And I find that it's the best way. It's the best way. You can get more bang for your buck. You're supporting more local businesses, if you will. People are more willing to make deals. You build those relationships, right? I think we all love building those relationships in the hobby. And, we all love not having to pay sales tax or shipping as well and just get those cards right away. So definitely love the card shows. The thing I like about MySlabs, just real quick, since we both mentioned it, I brought it up, is, being able to, I think, pay less of a fee if you're a seller. Having to pay less of a fee is always nice. Although eBay is the marketplace, I do like PWCC as well, because being able to just immediately vault your cards if you buy something on the weekly auction or anywhere in their marketplace, to be able to do that is nice. And they do a great job, I think, at customer service. Personally, I've been a PWCC customer since I started buying cards while I was in Spain, and having that service has been great. So in terms of selling cards, you mentioned selling also at card shows. Do you sell online at all? You sell on COMC, of course, but
yeah, so I sell on COMC. What I do is, like, I've bought some large collections over the past few years, and the best part about buying a large collection is shopping within it for yourself. Okay, first thing I do is I go through and I say which ones are going to become part of my PC, if any, and then the rest comes to card shows with me.
Okay.
Now, if it's a huge collection, I can't fly with it to the expo in Toronto. It's too far. So what I'll do is, there's a show in Edmonton, which is a 3-hour drive for me, which I'm going to be driving to on Thursday. It's coming up next weekend. Well, now I don't have anything for COMC this time because I'm low on inventory. But what I did last Edmonton show a year ago, I believe it was a year ago, I loaded up my car and I took all the stuff with me. And at the end of the show, I handed off to COMC like 1,500 cards. And I'm right now in my COMC account, I'm down to 11 cards. I've sold them all except for 11. So, which I really like. So that's one way. But at card shows, yeah, that's where I will buy, sell, and trade. And look, I mean, I do buy cards with the pure intent of selling them. Usually that's by buying a collection, because I love being at card shows, and I don't want to sell my own cards, my personal collection cards. So you need something to fill up your showcases. So that's why I like to buy collections. I have a couple of 2-row boxes right now that are like still card show inventory, if you will. But even at the expo in Toronto last week, I actually had to do what I don't like to do and take some PC cards just to fill up my 6 showcases. So, but I try not to sell them. Although I did end up selling one of them last week, which was a big deal for me. But yeah, I love being at the card show, and behind the table is so much better than being just an attendee, because you get to look at more cards. You get to, and you get in early. You get to see what the other vendors as they're setting up. So I love that. But, I love coming home from a card show and just going through my PC pickups and processing them into my collection. We all have our own methods for that. And then just enjoying those cards, looking at them every night for a few weeks until they kind of go into their I don't want to say final resting place, but into the boxes, with the rest of their cards.
I love the card show strategy. So a lot of the time you're buying large collections at a show, and then you're trying to move whatever you can at the show or at a future show. And then it sounds like you're also forward thinking about what shows is COMC going to be at, or maybe PWCC going to be at, that I could just give them the cards to vault while I'm there, so that you don't have to take home all of the inventory, and then you can move that online, whatever you didn't move at the show.
Yeah, 100%. I always do that. PWCC, I bought lots of cards on their platform, but my vault is empty. I end up because I personally am not a user of the vault for permanent storage. I want my cards with me. So right now my vault is empty because I just saw them at the Burbank show, I think in February, and I had them bring everything to me. And now the items I've been buying on PWCC for the last couple of months have been graded video games, like like that Atari 2600 Defender right there. I bought that 2 weeks ago, and it was here. It got here across the border in like 4 days. So I want my cards in hand. Listen, I understand the benefits of the vault, especially if you live in maybe a high humidity region, or you're afraid of break-ins or fires, whatever. I'm okay with that. I'm able to get past that in my own head. So I want my cards in hand. I like my cards. I want them with me as much as possible. So I don't use the vault for that, but they're insured, they're protected, and all that. I think it's great for those purposes to use the PWCC vault or whichever vault you use.
You're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show special edition with Jeremy Lee of Sports Cards Live. We really appreciate your time. I want to ask you a few more questions, though, before we let you go. So, first of all, I did not know you were in Calgary, and I was just having a conversation with my wife, who tells me it's beautiful and she wants to go there on a family trip. And now I'm thinking I've got another reason to go to Calgary. I can just bother Jeremy and come check out your collection. Maybe we can hang out.
You're inviting yourself over, huh, Paul?
Inviting myself over, man. What do you think?
If you make it all the way to Calgary, where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, so it's a bit of a hike.
That is a bit of a hike. If you make it all the way to Calgary, we'll have you and your wife over for supper, and you can see the collection.
I love it, man. I love it.
You can come right into the studio here with me.
I'm aggressive, inviting myself over. But seriously, though, I wanted to ask you about the Toronto show. I know you went to the Toronto show. So tell us, what did you like about the Toronto show? What got you pumped up?
Oh, man, the Toronto show was amazing. First of all, it was packed in there, and there were tons of kids. So what got me pumped up is just, there's a lot of narrative about where is the hobby at in our history. Where are we right now? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? Which way are things trending? And, especially after seeing values generally come down since the height of the pandemic, it's nice to see that there is still so much love and people. I mean, there was a lot of money moving around from what I could see. I had my second best show ever in terms of dollars in. So, I mean, it was just an awesome show overall. I got to be on the main stage participating in panels. I think I was up there 4 different times. I was probably away from my booth on Saturday for 4 hours altogether because I was at the main stage. So I might have done even better if I wasn't on the main stage, and I could have, been at my booth more but I had a buddy there babysitting the booth for me, and he had some cards on display. But it was just fun. I met some new friends, had dinner on Saturday with people that I'd never really met before. That was awesome. Thursday night at Expo, I've been hosting a dinner there for since 2012 on the Thursday night. We had 81 people show up for this networking event sort of thing at a restaurant called Jack Astor's. And, you have a beer or two, you have a hamburger, whatever you want to have. But it was a really nice, good mingling networking event. And so that was a lot of fun. Tag was there, set up, had a booth, and along with in Graders Row. Tag had a great experience there. Took in a bunch of submissions, met a bunch of people. It's just an amazing show. Like there's a lot of content out there covering it right now, and everything is very positive about that show. So very excited to have been there. And now the Edmonton Expo this coming weekend is the same promoter. It's a smaller show. It's a smaller market, but it's still a great market, and it should be a ton of fun too.
That's great. What you just said about the Toronto show in terms of having a meetup, that's something I really want to do at the National this year. I've talked about it a lot on the Sports Card Strategy Show. I really just want to get out there, meet the audience, invite people that I've never met before for a little meet and greet. I know there's a lot going on at the National, so it's not going to be easy to get everybody all in the same place. It's not going to be easy to find a place, but I like what you said about maybe having a dinner kind of a thing. You got my wheels turning. Will you be at the National this year?
Oh yeah, I will be there. I will be there with Tag Grading. So Tag will have a booth. I will be there. And that's going to be my main role at National this year will be with Tag. I will, definitely be working on some Sports Cards Live stuff while I'm there as well. I will definitely wander from the booth. And I mean, listen, I can't go to the National and not set eyes on every showcase in the room. I need to see what's out there. I'm going to be looking to pick up a few pieces for myself. I absolutely love, I love card shows, Paul. I love card shows. Okay, like if I could, I at the expo, I say it every time, but I'll say it to you. Like, if the expo was 52 weekends a year, I would move to Toronto. I'd uproot my family and move there so that I could be there. I would just do card dealing full time. I love it. And the National, it's so much fun. I mean, especially now with social media, being able to meet so many more people, form relationships. It's so much fun to just see the people and have conversations and fist bumps, handshakes, elbows, hugs, all these things with people that you converse with and communicate with on social media all year. Once a year, we get to go, as I think John Newman calls it, the Super Bowl of the hobby at the National. So
Yeah.
I just can't wait. And it's like it's 5 days, and I just enjoy every minute of it. So yeah, I'm so pumped.
This will be my second one. I'm feeling the energy. I'm several years behind you in terms of content creating for the hobby, but I'm feeling your energy, man. I really appreciate what you're doing. I invited myself over to your house, and now I'm going to invite you to. I was fortunate enough to have an audience member here that I was going to be at the National a few episodes ago, and he reached out to me and said, I've got a booth and I want the Sports Card Strategy Show to come set up at our booth and create some content. So I'm inviting you, Jeremy, to definitely come check us out and hang with us at the what will be the Sports Card Strategy Show booth, and come, hopefully hang, do an interview, show us what you got.
Sure.
We've got another show called the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell that we're going to do from the National, from our booth. So whatever you pick up, whatever you're trying to move, whatever card show strategy you got going on that day, you have an unlimited invite to come over and hang with us and show us what you got going on. And
I'll do that for sure. I'll bring my pickups by.
Love it. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And more love for Jeremy Lee in the comments here. Our main man, Chad Gill, is not familiar with Jeremy, but is loving Jeremy. Sounds like a great guy, great for the hobby, and a true, genuine hobbyist. I just subscribed to Sports Cards Live, and that's exactly how I feel about Jeremy. So thanks, Chad. Thanks to everybody watching and listening. And Jeremy, man, this has been great. I don't have anything else, but I want to give you the floor here. Anything else you want to add for the audience here at the Sports Card Strategy Show?
I mean, thanks for having me, Paul. This is fun. You're a great host. I mean, if Sports Cards Live is my YouTube channel. I'd love for more people to discover it and come join our live and interactive shows on Saturday nights. Instagram, I'm jlee_sports cards live. And, I don't usually do this, but in Toronto last week, I sold one of my best cards from my personal collection. And it was a PSA 8 Bobby Orr rookie. And I sold it because I have a PSA 5.5 that I actually like more. So what I say I don't usually do this. The message that I'm kind of getting across here is, I always say, and we as a hobby, it's like, buy the card, not the grade. For me, it's becoming more and more something that I'm putting my attention towards when I am picking up cards. I'm really more interested in the card itself than the grade on it, especially when it comes to vintage. Modern stuff, the grades are tighter. Most stuff is in pretty good condition, but on vintage stuff, I'm starting to do that, and I'm okay not owning, a high grade vintage card when there's a lower grade copy that I think presents better for whatever reason, like whatever is going on. So I don't know. That's something that just happened to me last week. Sold this card I wasn't planning to sell, but I took it with me, so I guess I was open to it. And I'm as happy with my 5.5 as I was with my 8. Take it for what it is.
That's amazing. I mean, this guy is in it for the right reasons. He's doing a lot of everything that we love here on the Sports Card Strategy Show in terms of creating content, but also living and breathing every aspect of the moves that he's making, the card shows online, incorporating everything involved with the grading company. In it for the right reasons. Would love to have more collaboration with Jeremy Lee and everything he's got going on at Sports Cards Live. Again, Sports Cards Live on YouTube, at jlee_sports cards live on Instagram. Support this man. Thanks again for your time, Jeremy. I'm going to lead us into the rock music here. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to the special edition of the Sports Card Strategy Show with Jeremy Lee from Sports Cards Live. Everybody, thanks so much and have a great day.